Morning students, welcome back to online session on programming for problem solving course. In our previous session we have seen pseudocode concept. So we said pseudocode, it is more like an algorithm, but we are not going to follow any mathematical notations or programming logics inside the pseudocode. So to give an idea what exactly the algorithm is dedicating, to show that one we are using this pseudocode. So inside pseudocode we are purely writing the language instructions only. I mean the natural language whatever we are using in order to write the pseudocode, that natural language instructions only we are writing. So we also said that this pseudocode we basically use to document the code. So whatever code we are writing in our program, in order to document that code we are using pseudocode. So after that discussion, we have also seen a few of the examples for our traditional problem statements with the help of these pseudocodes, how we can implement. Okay. So after that discussion, so let me just go to that points. So these things we have seen. Pseudocode, it is a programming language syntax independent. We're not going to follow any strict programming language rules or programming language syntax when we are writing the pseudocode. And we also said like it is a false code. Basically, pseudocode means it is a false code. Why we are saying false code in the sense because we are not using any of the programming code, any of the programming logic inside our pseudocode. Okay. So advantages we have seen, we have discussed. Then example I have given this simple C code. How we can represent this simple C code in terms of pseudocode we have seen, and then we have also seen the pseudocode examples. For all our problem statements, we have seen the pseudocode examples. Okay. So in today's class, we'll be discussing the next uh, planning tool. So designing tool or planning tool, that is nothing but your flowchart. So what exactly is a flowchart and how it is helpful in order to represent your algorithm towards programming. Okay. So it is the last step we can say. So we started at the structure charts. After structure charts, we had algorithms, and then after algorithms, we said pseudocode, and now this flow charting or flow charts. Okay. After this flow charts, immediately we'll go for programming stuff. Okay. We'll design a program and we'll code a program. Okay. So how we do this, it is a vast concept. It will take around 2 sessions I believe, 2 to 3 sessions I believe, to complete. So once we wind up this flow charting, there is some theory part, like we have to discuss about the history of C programming, then identifiers, variables and data types. Okay, once we discuss these three things, identifiers, variables and data types, we will enter into second unit. Okay, your second unit, there we discuss more about operators and control statements or control structures. Okay, already we had an idea what a control structure is, isn't it? So sequential statements and control structures we discussed when when we have seen the categories of algorithms, isn't it? Categories of algorithmic operations. Over there we discussed about control structures. Those are nothing but your question based statements, conditional statements, selection statements, and then the iterative statements. How we are going to achieve these things in our programming, that we have to see. Okay, quickly, what exactly is this flow chart? Is It is a designing tool. Basically, we are going to have all graphical symbols when we are doing this flow charting, or when we are designing a flow chart. We use different graphical symbols. Okay. To By using those graphical symbols, we represent the algorithm. Whatever algorithm we have written, we represent that algorithm in terms of this flowchart symbols, flowcharts graphics. Okay. So uh, generally, how the program instructions you have to consider, or how the data will flow inside your program. To show that one, we are using this flowcharts. It is a pictorial representation of an algorithm, we can say. Okay, for better understanding what we have said, it is a pictorial because we are using all pictures, okay, all graphical symbols when we are designing a flowchart. So that is the reason why we are calling your flowchart as a pictorial representation of an algorithm. Okay, so quickly read these statements, the definition, okay, and followed by the purpose and how it will be done, all these things. So the first point, the flowchart is a program design tool in which standard graphical symbols are used to represent the logical flow of data through a function. Okay, so basically whatever C program we are going to write, that complete C program we write like a function only. So that is the reason why we mentioned this function concept over here. Okay, it is a program designing tool, okay, in which standard graphical, so not all the symbols, I mean not random symbols we are using when we are designing the flowchart. There are some standardized graphical symbols. So every symbol whatever we are going to use inside a flowchart, it is having some specific meaning. Okay, based on that specific meaning only we are going to use those graphical symbols inside a flowchart. So first of all, we have to learn, we have to understand what each and every symbol indicates inside our flowchart. So after knowing that indication, after knowing that specification only, we'll be in a position to draw a flowchart. Okay, we'll be in a position to understand a flowchart, isn't it? Not only drawing, but also by seeing a flowchart only, we can tell what a particular symbol will do inside a flowchart. So in that way, these flowcharts are becoming a communication channel between the idea and the development. Okay, between the idea and the development, all these tools we are using, and your flowcharts are also one such tool. So whatever idea a person is having in his mind, if he represents with the help of a flowchart, the second party or the understanding party, he will get more clarity on that idea. So hopefully you understood. So these flowcharts, they are the communication channels in delivering the stuff, or in giving the idea, or in briefing the idea, we can say. Hopefully. So what generally a flowchart will do means it will show the logical flow of a program, or logical flow of data inside your program. How the program will flow, from which part we are starting and where we are ending, that complete flow will be shown with the help of a flowchart. And it is a pictorial representation of an algorithm. Whatever we are writing, whatever texts or steps we are writing inside your algorithm, all those steps, they can be represented with suitable graphical symbols inside your flowchart. Okay, you have to remember this. That is the reason why we are calling your flowchart as a pictorial representation of an algorithm. Okay, so the primary purpose of your flowchart is to show the design of an algorithm. You are having an algorithm, and with the help of this flowchart, we are drawing it, we are showing the design of that algorithm. Okay, generally graphical symbols are used to show that design. And basically how we can show the design, isn't it? We can't draw some mountain or some tree picture in order to represent the algorithm, isn't it? Definitely we have to use some standardized symbols whenever we are drawing an flowchart. So that is the reason they are delivering, or they are giving proper idea or proper briefing about the idea. Okay, so quickly go and see. Okay, flowcharts can also be used to design either the complete program or a part of a program. See, when as I said, our complete C program we are writing like a function only. Okay, so that function, if it is too big to handle, it can be subdivided. It can be subdivided into smaller modules. Okay, into smaller modules. And uh, yeah, with the help of these flowcharts, you can either show the complete, I should not use either, you can also show the complete program, or if you insist, you can show only the smaller modules. So both, in order to generate both the big program as well as the smaller modules, in order to design these two, your flowchart can be used. Flowcharting can be used. Not only the big program but also the smaller modules you can show. Okay, when using flowcharts, programmers are free from programming language syntax, so they can focus more on problems to be solved. See, it is very important point. See, when a programmer is designing something, or when a programmer is assigned by some task, if he's having a lot of other things to focus apart from the problem to be solved, if he is having a lot of secondary things to be focused, his concentration will be diverted, isn't it? I mean, the solution what he is intended to develop, it will not he will not be in a position to give his 100%, because his concentration is divided. He has to focus on the programming language syntax as well as the problem solving techniques. So if his focus is divided, if his focus is distributed, he cannot give 100% on these two. Okay, on these two, designing the solution as well as writing the program, that is nothing but focusing on the programming language syntax. So that is the reason why we are going for this flowcharting, where the designer, that is nothing but the programmer, he is completely free of the programming language syntax, so he can focus only on the problem to be solved. When he is drawing the flowchart, the programmer will focus only on the problem to be solved and not the programming language syntax. So that is one of the important point. When using flowcharts, programmers are free from programming language syntax, so it is an advantageous thing basically. Okay, so they can focus more on the problem to be solved. If the focus is distributed between these two things, programming language syntax as well as problem to be solved, if both the things has to be done simultaneously, what I mean to say is, if both the things has to be done simultaneously, that is nothing but, what is that? The first one, programming language syntax. The programmer has to focus on programming language syntax. That means what control structures he has to use, what variables he has to use, what data types he has to use, if all, I mean, what type of logic he has to implement. If the programmer is focusing on that one, at the same time, the problem to be solved, what problem he has to be solved. I mean, if he's focusing on these two things, this is number one and this is number two. If the programmer is focusing on these two things simultaneously, then what will happen? His concentration or his attention, it will be subdivided between these two. It will be subdivided between these two, so he cannot give his 100% on any of these two, isn't it? On any of these two, as his concentration is subdivided between these two things. One is programming language syntax as well as the problem to be solved. But if he uses, I mean, if the programmer uses these flow charts, when using flow charts, programmers are free from programming language syntax. So this job, it is not there inside your flow charts. This job, it is not there inside your flow charts. So what will happen? His complete 100% attention will go towards the problem to be solved only. The programmer's 100% attention or 100% focus will be on the problem to be solved. So what will happen? Ultimately, he can give his best effort, isn't it? He can give his best effort in order to get a perfect solution for the given problem. Hopefully you understood. So quickly go and see. Yes, we said some standardized symbols we are using whenever we are designing a flowchart. So those standardized symbols, they have been categorized, or they have been divided into two. Okay, one is the auxiliary symbols and the other one is primary symbols. Okay, auxiliary and primary symbols. Simply remember, all the flowchart symbols, whatever we are whatever we should have to use inside a flowchart, all those symbols, they have been standardized and they have been categorized into two. The first one is the auxiliary symbols and the second one is the primary symbols. So now we have to see what is auxiliary symbols, and how many different types of auxiliary symbols we have, and what are their shapes, what are their designs. All those things we have to understand. Then the same thing for primary symbols also. What is the motive behind using these primary symbols? What are their shapes? What are their designs? And for if they are used inside your flow chart, what they will represent, what these auxiliary symbols and these primary symbols will represent. So these things we have to understand one by one. We have to understand these two. So first we'll start with auxiliary symbols. Okay, so generally these auxiliary symbols, they will not hold any instructions, or they will not hold any statements inside your flow chart. They will simply increases. Okay, they will simply increases the enhance. Okay, and they will enhance, we can say they will enhance or increases the readability of your flow chart. So without these I mean auxiliary symbols, there will be no connectivity, there will be no starting and ending points of your flow chart, or of your algorithm, whatever you want to represent inside a flow chart. So why we are using this auxiliary symbols means just to enhance the readability of your algorithm, to have a proper connectivity between the symbols, and to have a proper starting point as well as end point inside your flow chart. For that purpose only we are using this auxiliary symbols. So the purpose you have to remember. So these symbols, these in the sense the auxiliary symbols, what they will do, they will enhance the readability or functionality of the flow chart. They do not show any instructions or commands. As I said, they are not going to hold any commands or any instructions or any statements inside your flowcharts. They just use to enhance the readability of the flowchart, functionality or readability of the flowchart. So how many are there means there are three different types. These auxiliary symbols, they are three different types. The first one is the terminals, then flow lines, then connectors. Okay, so these auxiliary symbols, they have been categorized, or they have been subdivided into three different types. The first one is terminals, the second one is flow lines, and the last one is the connectors. So the first one, terminal, as we have seen your algorithm, it is going to have a starting point as well as an ending point, isn't it? So these terminals, the shape of this terminal is like this, the oval shape. What is this? The oval shape, OVAL, oval shape we are having over here. See the oval shape, this one we call it as a terminal. So why we use this terminal means just to show the starting and ending point of your algorithm or flowchart. Okay, either algorithm or subroutine, algorithm or subroutine, to show the starting and end point of these two, to show the starting point and end point of your algorithm, or to show the starting point and end point of your subroutine. Okay, we use these terminals, we use this terminal. So when you are converting this algorithm into flow chart, into flow chart, or when you are converting this subroutine into flow chart, we use these terminals to show the start point as well as the end point. So that discussion we'll have in the next. See here, generally what symbol is used in order to represent the terminal, in the sense the oval symbol. So here I mentioned that one, the oval symbol is used to represent the terminal. Okay, it is used to show the beginning and ending of an algorithm. So generally to show the starting point or the ending point, beginning and ending of your algorithm. So it is very simple. To show the beginning, what we do means inside the same oval symbol we put start. So like this we put a label start. So this is your starting point of your algorithm. Inside a flowchart, when we are designing the starting point, we use like this. And to show the stop symbol also. Okay, to show the stop symbol just like this. Take another oval, okay, and put stop, stop. That's it. To show, this is to show the starting point, and this is to show the ending point of your algorithm. Okay, inside a flowchart to represent these things, or sometimes we also use this term return. Okay, it depends on the type of flow chart you're drawing, whether you're drawing for an algorithm or whether you're drawing for a subroutine. If you're drawing for an algorithm, you will have start and stop symbols, because your algorithm, as we discussed, it has to start at some point and it has to end at some point. There is no return thing, nothing, isn't it? But if it is a subroutine, it is going to have a start point, start, and it is going to have an return point. It is not going to end, rather it will return to the main program. Okay, from the subroutine we are going to return to the main program. So that thing I'm writing over here, return. So it is going to have a start point as well as a return point. To what? To a subroutine or a subprogram or a subfunction, we can say. Subroutine. If it is an algorithm, we are going to have a start and stop symbols. Okay. The basic rule of structured programming is every algorithm should have only one entry point and only one exit point. Okay. And these terminals, they are going to be used to represent that start point as well as the end point. So terminals, what symbol we are using? Oval symbol, like this. This type of symbol we are using, the oval symbol. And what it will represent is, it will represent the start point as well as the end point inside your algorithm. If you are drawing this symbol to start the flowchart, so just put start, start, inside this shape. If you are drawing this symbol to represent the end of the flowchart, then put stop, stop. If it is a subroutine, so generally either the name or same start symbol it is going to have, and return to stop, return to stop. Like this, we are going to use these symbol for different purposes. Terminal symbol to show the beginning and to show the end point of your algorithm, to show the beginning and to show the return point of your subroutine we are going to use. Okay, the next thing, flow lines. So these flow lines, they are just, they are also not going to carry any instructions. They are also not going to have any what we call command or any statement inside your algorithm. See, then why we are using this flow lines means just to show the flow of control from one symbol to another symbol. Just to show the flow of control, we are using these flow lines, or we can say these are the connectors of different symbols inside your flow line, inside your flow chart. Okay, so flow lines are used to connect different symbols of a flow chart. So when you are drawing multiple symbols inside a flow chart, to connect all those symbols, we use these flow lines. Okay, they also shows the order or sequence of the symbol. So which symbol should come first and which symbol is second, and between those symbols what type of, I mean, in which direction we are having the connectivity. To show all these things, we are using this flow line. So it is very simple. So let us say we have started the algorithm at some point. So what symbol we use for starting? The terminal symbol, isn't it? So terminal followed by, let us say, start symbol, start. So this is the starting point. And after that, you are drawing one symbol, you're drawing another symbol, like this we are drawing multiple symbols to show the connectivity from here to here, how the flow is it going to towards up, or is it going towards down, or do we have any connectivity like this from here to one symbol, or do we have any type of connectivity from here to another like symbol like this. So what type of connectivity we are having, which direction we are having the connectivity. So likewise, to show all those things, see here, right side pointing, left side pointing, upward pointing, and downward pointing lines. So we call these lines as flow lines. They just used to show the connectivity between different symbols of your um, flow chart. Okay, every symbol in a flow chart will have some entry and some exit point. Okay, for example, to start a oval, we discussed. Okay, so like this, we are going to have these flow lines just to show the connectivity between the different symbols. Okay, between different symbols. So then we have the connectors. So the last type of symbol, it should be C over here, it is not A, as we are discussing the last one. This is C, connectors. So when, suppose when you have started the designing of a flow chart, okay, you have started the designing of a flow chart, and you reached a point where continuity is not possible. where continuity is not possible. So I have started with the terminal symbol start, then I have drawn different symbols like this. Okay, so then I am drawing different symbols I have drawn. So then suddenly what happened, I reached the end of page and the continuity is not possible because I cannot go. I have more symbols but I don't have enough space to draw over here. Okay, you have to understand this one. The connectors why we are using, they are the connecting points. Okay, they are the connecting points and they can be used in two different situations. Okay, the connectors we can use in two different situations. So this is my first situation. So what I have done, I have started the designing or drawing of my flow chart. Then suddenly I reached the end of page where the continuity is not possible. I cannot go beyond. I cannot draw the what we call flow chart any further. So what I have to do, I have to take a connector over here. So how we can take a connector in the sense, simply a circle followed by with some number in it. A circle followed by a number in it. This is your connector. This is your connector. The concept is very simple. We have started the flow chart over here. Then we have drawn this symbol, then this symbol, then this symbol, and we have shown the connectivity using flow lines like this. And at this point, what happened? I reached the end of page and I don't have any further space to continue the flow chart, but still I have to draw my flow chart. So what I will do, I will use a connector over here. I will put a circle with some number over here. So this is my first connector, so I'm keeping 1 inside it. What I'm doing, I'm keeping, let us say, some 1 inside this connector. So now again I have to go to the top of the page and I have to put that same connector 1. Okay, put that same connector and start designing the flow chart once again. So like this. So this will show the continuity inside my flow chart. This will show the continuity inside my flow chart. Again, what I am doing, I am reaching the end of the page and I don't have any further to go. So 2 I will take, and again I will start the 2 over here followed by 2, and then I will draw more flow chart over here. More flow chart over here. Like this I can go. Hopefully you understood the purpose and the yeah, here it will stop. Here I am stopping. So stop. So now where I have started my flow chart here. Then after drawing 3 symbols, I reached the end of the page. So as I don't have any further scope over here to draw the more symbols, so then what I have done, I have taken a connector point, connecting point over here with some numerical inside, and again with that same numerical connector, I'm proceeding with my flow chart. I mean beside to it. So this is the first scope of using a connector when you are reaching the end of the page. When you are reaching the end of the page, in the very next page or in that same page beside it, what we are doing, we are simply taking a connector at the end point, and the second broken flowchart first symbol will be that connector only. Broken for flowcharts first symbol will be that connector only. So by seeing this, what the analyst will understand in the sense, he has to stop over here and he has to look for that same connector inside the flowchart. So wherever he is finding that same connector, he has to consider that symbols as the continuity point of this flowchart. Continuity point of this flowchart. So from here we will jump over here, and then from here we will jump to here. Likewise, this is the starting point and this is the stop point of my algorithm, and in between whatever I have, all these things, they all are the intermediary symbols only. Okay, intermediary symbols of this flowchart only. So the next case, the second case, where else we use this flowchart, I mean connector in the sense, the first case hopefully you understood, and the second case it is very simple to understand. So let us say I have started the uh, 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 drawing. Okay, I have started drawing the flow chart. So immediately what has happened, so let me just clear this stuff. Okay, so then I have started the drawing of my algorithm, sorry, flow chart. So that is with start label inside it. So then I have started drawing some symbols. So then at some point what has happened means, so over here, let us assume, over here, I thought of keeping some logic over here, and that logic is very big that I can't fit that logic over here. Okay, that logic is very big or very complex, so I cannot fit that logic over here. So that logic, what I will do means I will simply skip that logic. I will simply skip and I will proceed with the further processing, and I will stop my algorithm. So what is missing in this? Some logic over here it is missing. Why I haven't mentioned that logic over here means because it is too complex to fit in this small space. It is too complex to fix in this small space. That is the reason I skipped this logic over here. So now what I will do means I will put a connector over here, like let us say A. I will put a connector over here, let us say A, and I will put another connector over here, let us say B. Now between this flow chart, some portion is missing with these two connectors, AB connectors. So now to show that missing part, to show that missing complex part, what I have to do, I have to start a logic, I have to start a flow chart with A as the beginning point, then okay, then put that complex logic over here. So like this I have some complex logic. So this was my reason for not showing this complex logic over there. So then see, whatever I'm drawing over here, all these are some random symbols. Okay, so don't think that I'm taking some logic and drawing. They are just the random symbols. So definitely all these symbols, they are having meaning, and slowly we are trying to understand the meaning of those symbols. So then and so far we are doing only auxiliary. So to understand all these symbols we have to go for primary symbols. Okay, so like this I have taken. So there is another symbol, like this also will have one symbol. So all these symbols, yeah, we are, how we are connecting all these symbols, just by using connectors, sorry, flow lines, just by using flow lines. So all these are flow lines which will show the flow of control from here to here. So like this. So again, to stop, to end, I have to put B over here. So because this complete logic, it is very complex, I cannot fit this complete logic over here. So what I have done, when I was drawing my main flowchart, I simply skipped that part. I simply skipped that part. Now I'm showing that same part with the help of a separate flowchart with the connector A as the starting point and connector B as the end point. So it is something like a zooming thing, isn't it? So if it is very small to show over here, what we have done, we zoomed it. See over here, this reflection, if you have the what we call the conceptual power to think it like a 3D figure, so then what we have done, we have simply zoomed from here to here, we zoomed the content and we are showing the magnified stuff, because this big thing, this complex thing, it is very difficult to put over here, so we magnify it. So what we have done, we magnified or we zoomed it so that it can give the clarity over here. So like this. The first point, for the first time, when we are using connectors, when you are reaching the end of the page and there is no scope to draw more flowchart, so simply we are keeping a connector over there and we are going to the next page, and with that same connector we are starting the uh, leftover flowchart. Okay, rest of the flowchart we can say. That is one point. And the second thing is, whenever it is very difficult for you to put the complex content inside the small space of your flowchart, so simply put that same content beside the flowchart or somewhere else in the paper, and have the proper connectors like this, A B connectors like this, so that so when one will start considering your flowchart, what he will do, he will consider this as the starting point, then this symbol, then after this symbol, what symbol we have, this connector, Then connector, whenever he is seeing the connector, immediately he has to look for the opening connector, isn't it? So here we have the connectivity from here to here. Then this symbol will come into consideration based on this condition. This symbol or this symbol will come into consideration. Then this one, then this loop. Likewise, he will consider all the things. Then as we have the B over here, the control will jump from this B to this B, and we will have this symbol, and finally the stop symbol. Likewise, this entire flowchart will be considered. Likewise, this entire flowchart will be considered. So far we discussed the oval shape to show the start and stop point of your algorithm, or start and return point of your subroutine. Then we discussed the flow lines just to show the flow control inside your algorithm. To show the flow of control, we are using these flow lines. Just to have a proper connectivity between the symbols, we are using these flow lines. Then the connectors, whenever connectors, it can be used for two different purposes. Whenever you are reaching the end of the page, or whenever there is something very complex that you can't fit inside the actual flowchart. So in two different cases we are using these connectors. See, that same thing I have shown inside your PPT as well. So connector symbol is circle. In, yeah, with a circle you can use any numerical value or any alphabetical value also. Okay, simply how we have to represent that one, circle inside it one, like circle 2. Okay, circle A, circle B. Likewise, you can use these connectors. So this is whenever you are reaching the end of the end of the page. If you are reaching the end of the page with with that same label, what we are doing, we are starting the flow chart in a next page. Okay, in this way your connector will become a connecting point between two pages. So if you have something very complex, as we said, if you have something very complex, that you can zoom it out with the help of these connectors. You can zoom it out with the help of these connectors. So after this, what we call inside this loop body, whatever he wants to put, he's not keeping. He's keeping that thing separately, and these two connectors, they are behaving like connecting points between that zoomed portion as well as this narrow portion. Okay, hopefully you understood this one, the two different cases where you can use the connectors. So then we have primary symbols. So auxiliary symbols, for what purpose we are using auxiliary symbols? Just to enhance the readability or functionality of your flowchart. They are not going to hold, they are not going to show any type of instructions, any type of statements, any type of commands inside your flowchart. Hopefully you understood. So then we have the primary symbols. They are going to hold, they are used, these type of symbols, they are used to show the actual instructions or commands or actions inside your flowchart. Okay, so whatever symbols we discussed so far, they are just the passive symbols, just to connectivity, just to have the readability, just to have the decoration inside your flow chart. We are using those auxiliary symbols. But now auxiliary means what? The supporting, in the sense auxiliary. If you see the meaning of this auxiliary word inside an English dictionary, the meaning is supporting. Okay, supporting. It will give, they will be there standing beside, and they will give the support. They will not participate in the actual job, they will simply support. So all auxiliary symbols so far, whatever we discussed, they are not going to participate in the algorithm. They just show the flow of control. What symbols needs to be considered when you are referring the flowchart or when you are referring the algorithm. So that to show we are using auxiliary symbols. But these primary symbols, they are a part of the program, or they are the part of the flowchart. They will hold the actual dynamic content, actual working content inside your flowchart, and they actually hold the instructions, commands, actions needed to solve your program or problem. Okay, the primary symbols are used to show the instructions or actions needed to solve the problem. Okay, these category of symbols used to show, I mean, why we use these primary symbols, in the sense, whenever you want to put some sequence statements. So algorithmic operations, we have seen three types: Sequential operations, decision making, condition, selection, question based. That is the second category, operations. Then the third category, repetitive or looping statements. Okay, sequential statements, decision or conditional or selection or question based statements. And the third category is repetitive statements. Okay, repetitive statements, or we also call them as looping statements. So these three things we have to discuss. The first one, sequential. See the division over here. First we discussed auxiliary, then primary. Inside auxiliary we discussed three different. The first one is terminals, then flow lines, then connectors. Now we started primary symbols. Primary symbols, again they are subdivided into three. First one is sequence, decision making, iterative. Then this sequence, again they are subdivided into five. Okay, again they are subdivided into five. In that, the first one is null symbols. In that, the first one, what we have, the null symbol. Okay, so what this null symbol will do means it will not hold anything. It will not hold anything. See, if there are situations where you don't want to show any action, or where you don't want to put any statements, so over there we use this null statement to represent nothing. We can say inside your algorithm, to represent nothing, we use these uh, um, null symbols, null statements. So generally in condition based statements we use this null statement. Whenever the condition is true, you want to perform something, and whenever the condition is false, you don't want to perform anything. Let us assume in that way. You don't want to perform anything. So suppose if it is raining, we will carry the umbrella. If it is not raining, we don't do anything, isn't it? We will go as it is. We don't do anything. So to represent that one, doing nothing, to represent that, we use this null statement. So whenever if it is raining, we'll carry the umbrella. If it is not raining, then nothing. We don't carry. So to represent that thing, okay, to represent that thing, do nothing, to represent, we use this null statement. Okay, so sequential statement, sequence symbols are used to represent the actions that must be performed in a linear order. So as I said earlier, all sequential operations, all sequential statements will be operated or will be performed in an algorithm, in a flowchart, linearly. They will not, yeah, if until and unless you use any control statement between the sequential statements, no sequential statement will be skipped, or no sequential statement will be repeated. We discussed, isn't it? We discussed this thing when we discussed about algorithm categories. Over there I told you, until and unless you use any of the control structure, no sequential statement will be repeated, or no sequential statement will be skipped. Okay, so in short, or in simple terms, all sequential statements will be performed in a linear order, one after the other, in a linear order. To these symbols, the flow must enter at the top of the symbol, and flow exit at the bottom of the symbol. So whatever sequential symbols we are going to have, to all those symbols there will be no distribution of the flow. There will be no distribution of the flow. Distribution of the flow in the sense, so I will explain this over here. Distribution of the flow, it is very simple to understand. So let us say you have a symbol, flowchart symbol. So if it is a sequential symbol, if it is sequential, I don't know, okay, my writing pad, it is giving some issues. If it is sequential, then what will happen? Okay, the flow will enter from the top, and the flow will exit from the bottom. So like this it will happen if it is sequential. If it is control structure, if it is not sequential, if it is control structure like this, if it is a control structure symbol is like this, then what will happen? The flow will enter over here, and you will have two paths. After this condition, you will have two paths, like this and like this. So here what has happened? the flow is not entering from the top but exiting in two directions. Not exiting from the bottom but exiting in two directions. This is the true case and this is the false case, like this. So generally whenever this condition becomes true, the flow will go in this direction. Whenever this condition becomes false, the flow will go in this direction. So likewise, this is control structure. This is what? The control structure. If it is sequential, the flow will go like this, from bottom to the from top to bottom. But if it is control structure, then the flow will get distributed. Then the flow will be deviated or distributed. So likewise, so they do not allow any flow change. Yes, just now we discussed this flow must enter on the top and exit at the bottom. They will not allow any flow change. They will not allow any flow distribution. Okay, so all sequential statements will do the same thing. Okay, there are four different types of sequential statements. The first one is the null statement. Just now I told you to represent doing nothing. To represent doing nothing, these null statements can be used. Huh? These null statements, first of all, being a sequential statements, it will being a sequential statement, it will not change the flow of control. So how the flow is entering, like an arrow mark from the top, it will exit in that same way only. It will exit in that same way to the bottom. From top it will enter and from the bottom it will exit. No repetition, no skipping or no flow change, nothing. Okay. So then there is no symbol defined. Yeah, in order to show this null symbol, we don't have anything. We don't have any special what we call shape or special symbol. Just a flow line. How we represent doing nothing? Just a flow line. Like this we draw. So whatever symbol here we are drawing, because if it is a null statement means no symbol. Null statement means no symbol. We do practice such things in our flowcharts. There you will understand very clearly the importance of having this null statement in our consideration, hopefully. So the next one, assignment statement. So whenever you are initializing some variables or assigning some value to a variable, then we use this rectangle shape. Okay, a rectangle symbol is used for assignment statement. See, all these symbols you have to remember. We have very few. All these symbols you have to buy hard and you have to remember, because this flowchart, uh, designing a flowchart and different symbols used inside a flowchart, it is an LAQ, long answer question from your first unit. Okay, it is a very important long answer question from your first unit. So you have to remember all the symbols. Okay, so for assignment statement, what symbol we are using? We are using a rectangle shape. A rectangle shape will be used. Inside it, inside this rectangle shape, we use a variable to the left side of an arrow. I mean, we use an arrow mark to show the value to be assigned and a variable where that value will be assigned. Value to be assigned and where that value will be assigned. To show that one, we are using this assignment statement. So over here, as you can see, this expression or value, whatever it will give, that will be assigned to this variable here. That will be assigned to this variable here. So like this, to show the assignment, we are using this rectangular symbol. Inside it we are keeping variable and we are keeping expression, that is nothing but value. Okay, the symbol is used whenever there is an assignment operation needs to be shown inside the flow chart. We discussed already. Okay, why we are using this symbol? Whenever there is a assignment operation needs to be shown inside the flow chart, we are using this uh, uh, assignment statements. Okay, assignment operator is shown using a left pointing arrow. Always how we have to show that assignment, or generally in mathematics how we should show this assignment, like x equals to some 10. So here I should write here because over there it will not be visible. So x equals to some 10 and y equals to some 40, like this we do the same thing in a flow chart to show First of all, you have to use this rectangular box. Take the rectangular box, and inside this rectangular box assign these things. So how we do? X, inside X we are keeping the value 10, like this. To show that Y equals to 40, take another one, another rectangle box, and Y equals to, yani Y will take the value 40, like this we show, like this, and like this we show. This is assignment statement. Fix these things you have to fix inside your mind. Okay, next is input output. So whenever you are reading some data from the keyboard and whenever you are printing some data on the output screen, we use this parallelogram symbol. Okay, a parallelogram symbol is used for input or output statements. Okay, reading some value and writing some value, that is nothing but performing some input output inside your flow chart. We use a parallelogram symbol. Say, remember this symbol parallelogram. Inside it, whenever you are reading the values, we use read statement. Okay, read keyword. And whenever you are writing, because the symbol is same for both reading and writing, the symbol is same. So exactly what you are performing, exactly whether you are reading or whether you are writing, to differentiate that one, we label that symbol with that read write terms, read write labels. Okay, we label these symbols with read write labels. Hopefully you understood. Reading input from the keyboard and writing output on the output screen console can be represented using this input output statements. So this is your input statement. Okay, this is your input statement, rectangle with a sorry, not rectangle, parallelogram with a read statement. Okay, then for writing, parallelogram with a write label inside it. So this will read the value from the keyboard. Okay, read the value, this symbol if you use like this, read the value from keyboard or file, keyboard or file. And this thing, what it will do, it will same thing, the opposite to this one. Okay, write the value, write the value to keyboard, sorry, not keyboard, to the monitor or same thing, file. So to do these things, we use this read write symbols. Okay, input output symbols. Hopefully you understood. Then the next one is a module call. Just now I told you, yeah, an algorithm can be subdivided, or a function can be subdivided into smaller subdivisions or smaller modules or smaller subroutines. So those things are nothing but your module call statements. So using this module call, what we can do, we can we can show the subdivision of your main program or big program. Okay, so to yeah, we'll get more clarity about these module calls when we discuss your functions concept. So inside a function, to show the function call, we use this module call statement. Okay, it is very simple, this very simple symbol. So just what we have to do, uh, same symbol like your assignment operator will be used, that is a rectangle. The thing is, you have to put two vertical bars at both the sides. So this is your module call, this is your module call symbol. Okay, this is your module call symbol. So here you can see we are finding the average over here. So we have started. So this algorithm, you try to understand, it is very simple algorithm. So we are finding the average of A, B, C. A simple flow chart, I can say, module call example. So first what we are doing over here, as we have to start this flow chart at some point, we are using the start symbol over here. You can see we are using the start symbol. So then after start, we are reading the value, read a, see the symbol over here, what symbol we are using, a parallelogram. Using a parallelogram, what we are doing, we are reading a value. So this terminal symbol to start the flow chart, then a flow line, then a parallelogram to read value of A, then another flow line, then read B, value of B, another flow line, read C. Okay, then what we have? We have a module call. So whenever you have a module call, the control will immediately search for a different flow chart with that same name. A different flow chart with that same name. So here, what is my module call name? Average of AVG ABC, average of ABC, average of AVG ABC. So these are actual parameters we call them as, and these are formal parameters we call them as. But the function name, okay, the subroutine name or the module call name, it is same both here as well as here, AVRJ. Okay, so whenever we have a subroutine call or whenever we have a function call, immediately we have to look for a similar function definition or similar flow chart with that name, a similar flow chart with that name. So here we have a similar flow chart with AVRG name. So what it is doing, it is calculating sum, x plus y plus z, sum it is calculating. Then uh, result, that is nothing but average, okay, sum divided by 3, it is calculating the result and it is returning. From here it is returning. So your AVG, AVE, now your AVE will have that average value. Your AVE will have that average value, and that average value, what we are doing, we are printing on the output screen. We are printing on the output screen, then stopping. So likewise, this flowchart will represent the complete flow of your program or complete flow of your algorithm. Okay. So compound symbol and rest of the things we'll discuss in tomorrow's class. So you just practice so far whatever symbols we have discussed. Okay. It is already like 50 plus minutes we have done. Okay, near to 1 hour I guess. Okay, so quickly I will revise this stuff for you. So we said flowchart to show the pictorial representation of your algorithm, we are using flowchart, and inside a flowchart, to design a flowchart, we are using some standardized symbols. Okay, standardized symbols means all the symbols inside your flowchart, they will have some specific meaning when they used. Okay, okay, when they are used, they will be having some specific meaning. So just by seeing the flow chart, any person can get an idea. Okay, idea briefing. Okay, so to design a flow chart, we are using two different types of symbols, that they are nothing but auxiliary symbols and primary symbols. So auxiliary symbols, they are not going to hold any instructions statements, they are used just to enhance the readability or functionality of your algorithm, I mean flow chart, or we can say just to decorate your flow chart, we are using these auxiliary symbols. They are three in number: terminals, starting and stopping point of your algorithm, and starting and stopping point of your subroutine function definition. We are using this terminals. Then we have flow lines, just to connect the different symbols inside your flow lines, or just to show the flow of continuity from one symbol to another symbol. We are using this flow lines. Just connectors, they can be used in two different cases: whenever you are reaching the end of the page, or whenever you have something very complex that you think you can't fit the logic in a specific area or in a specific place. Then what we will do, we'll elaborate that one just with the help of connectors. So in these two scenarios, in these two cases, we are using these connectors. Then we have the primary symbols. Primary symbols, they actually holds the instructions or commands inside the um, flow chart. Okay, they are subdivided into three, further subdivided into three: sequence, decision making, iterative. Then sequence symbols, we set 5 in number: null statement, assignment statement, and input output statement. Null statement, just to show that you don't want to do anything, you don't want to perform anything inside a flowchart, we are using this null statement. Then assignment statement, to assign the values to the variables, we are using these assignment statements. Input output, to read the values from the keyboard and to write the values back to the monitor, we are using this input output statements. Then module call, we have seen, just to have the subdivision of your big program, subdivision of your big function, we are using this module calls. So whenever you encounter a module call inside a flowchart, immediately you have to look for a similar flowchart with that same name, a similar flowchart with that same name. So likewise, after considering the entire uh, uh, small size flowchart, again you have to come back to the main flowchart. Okay, again you have to come back to the main flowchart, because at the end of your subroutine, or at the end of your sub flowchart, we are having the return statement. There is no stop statement, isn't it? You have to concentrate on that one also, you have to consider that also. Okay, so the rest of the concepts we will see in our tomorrow's class. Okay, thank you very much, students.